Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises to Yahuwah, the ruler of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the creator of heaven and earth, in the name of his only begotten son, Yahusha, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. It's good. On this video, going to be about the book of Ephesians. Ephesians was written to Israelites also. The whole New Testament was written to the Israelites, but we talking about the book of Ephesians. All throughout the book of Ephesians, it calls the people saints. Now, the Israelites is the only people in the Bible called saints. That's who the saints are, the Israelites. Ephesians 1 verse 1. Paul, an apostle of Yahusha Mashiach, by the will of Yahuwah, to the saints which are at Ephesus, and to the faithful in Mashiach Yahusha. Now he addressed the saints. So let's see who the Bible called the saints. We're going to go to Deuteronomy, because it's in the law. We could go to Psalms, like brothers do, but we'll go to Deuteronomy. It's Deuteronomy 33. And this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of Yahuwah, blessed the children of Israel before his death. And he said, Yahuwah came from Sinai and rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of saints. From his right hand went a fiery law for them. Yea, he loved the people. All his saints are in my hand, and they sat down at your feet. Every one shall receive of your words. Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob. There you have it. The saints are the congregations of Israelites, also called Jacob. So that's who the book of Ephesians is addressed to. Ephesians 1 verse 4. According as he has chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him. So who did he choose? Let's go to Deuteronomy again. Deuteronomy 7 verse 6. For you are a holy people unto Yahuwah your ruler. Yahuwah your ruler has chosen you to be a special people to himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. That was written to the Israelites. That's who he chose. So when verse 4 of Ephesians, the first chapter, says, according as he has chosen us in him, that's referencing the Israelites. Because it was Israelites in Ephesus living there. That was an old Greek colony when the Greeks was ruling and the Romans took over. You can look it up. Verse 5, having predestinated having predestinated us to the adoption of children by Yahushua Mashiach himself according to the good pleasure of his will. His will is his law. That's Psalms 40 verse 8. Now let's see what the adoption is talking about. We're going to go to, first we're going to go back to Galatians. Galatians 4, verse 4. But when the fullness of time was come, that's talking about the fullness of the Gentiles. That's referencing Romans 11:25 and Genesis 48:19. But when the fullness of the time was come, Yahuwah sent forth his son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons. So the adoption of sons is for them that's under the law. The law was only given to the Israelites, no other nation. Period. It's a fact. Let's go to Romans now. Romans 9. We'll start at verse 3. For I wish that myself were accursed from Mashiach for my brothers, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. Now, Paul was a Benjamite. He was an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. So when he's saying here, my kinsmen according to the flesh, he talking about his own tribe and other tribes. I'll read it again, verse 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertains the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of Yahuwah and the promises. So that's letting you know the adoption is for the Israelites. That's who the law was given to. Ephesians 1:9-10. For this cause we also, since the day we heard it, do not cease to pray for you and to desire that you might be filled with the knowledge of his will and all that wisdom and spiritual understanding, that you might walk worthy of Yahuwah unto all pleasing, being fruitful in every good work and increasing in the knowledge, and increasing in the knowledge of Yahuwah. Okay, so let's see what this one is talking about. It says, verse 9, to desire that you might be filled with the knowledge of his will. Okay. In all wisdom and spiritual understanding. So let's go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 4:6. I'm going to start at 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahuwah, my ruler, commanded me, that you should do so in the land where you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of all nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So that's the wisdom and understanding and knowledge that he's talking about. The law. And let's prove that with Psalms. Psalms 40, verse 8. I delight to do your will. O my ruler, yes. Your law is within my heart. That's letting you know his will is the law. The law was given to the Israelites. That was their wisdom and understanding. And their knowledge. Moving on, verse 11. Strengthen with all might according to his glorious power unto all patience and long suffering with joyfulness. Salaki, I'm in verse 12. Giving thanks unto the Father, which has made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints. The inheritance of the saints. It's talking about Israelites. Deuteronomy 33, verse 3. Yea, he loved the people. All his saints are in your hand. And they sat down at your feet. Every one shall receive of your words. Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob. So there you have it. Verse 13, Salakia, verse 12 says partakers of the inheritance of the saints. The inheritance of the saints is the law. And the saints are Israelites, period. (13 through 15), who has delivered us from the power of darkness and has translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible ruler, the firstborn of every creation. I might be in the wrong chapter. Yeah. Yeah, I got a little spent around right there. Moving right along. Ephesians 2, 11 through 12. In whom you are also, that's why I'm in the wrong, but Slakia. Yeah, I was in the wrong book. Man, Salaki. Ephesians 1 verse 11. In whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestined according to the purpose of him who works all things after the counsel of his own will. So I showed that his will was the law and the inheritance is the law given to the Israelites. Verse 13, in whom you also trusted after that you heard the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation, in whom also after that you believed, you were sealed with the Holy Spirit of promise, which is the earnest of our inheritance until the redemption of purchased possession unto the praise of his glory. Wherefore I also, after I heard of your faith in Yahuwah, Salakia, heard of your faith in the Master Yahusha and love unto all saints. Saints is the Israelites. We're going to keep hearing saints because it's talking about the Israelites. Verse 13 says, in whom you all so trusted after that you heard the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation. Let's see what the word of truth is. Psalms 119, 142. Your righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and your law is the truth. Verse 151. You are near, O Yahuwah, and all your commandments are truth. So that's what the word of truth is, and the gospel of salvation. It's the law. Ephesians 2:11. Wherefore, remember that you being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh, made by hands, that at that time you were without Mashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of the promise, having no hope and without Yahuwah in the world. So when they was in sin, they was cut off. That's in the law. Let's get that. That's part of the law, being cut off, being a Gentile, lost in sin. Deuteronomy 29. I'm going to start at I'm going to start at 14 for edification. Neither with you only do I make this covenant and this oath, but with him that stands here with us this day before Yahuwah, our ruler, and also with him that is not here with us this day, meaning you're going to be born into this covenant and this oath and this promise, this inheritance. So you can't be like, well, I don't believe in it. For you know how we have dwelt in the land of Egypt, and how we came through the nations which you passed by, and you have seen their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which were among them. Lest there should be among you man or woman or family or tribe whose heart turns away this day from Yahuwah our ruler to go and serve the gods of these nations, lest there should be among you a root that bears gall and wormwood. And it come to pass, when he hears the words of this curse, that he bless himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of my heart, to add drunkenness to thirst. Here's the point. Yahuwah will not spare him, but then the anger of Yahuwah and his jealousy shall smoke against that man, and all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him, and Yahuwah shall blot out his name from under heaven, and Yahuwah shall separate him to evil out of all the tribes of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant that are written in this book of the law. So that's letting you know you could be cut off. It don't matter. If you sin and you worshiping other gods, you could be cut off and given over to the demons, and you be lost in darkness. And that's what Ephesians 2:11 and 12 is talking about. It says that in the past, they was the Gentiles. They was cut off, but they repented. So they got adopted back into the covenant. Because that was the promise. Moving right along. Another example of that is in Ezekiel. Let's go there real quick. Ezekiel 14:4. Therefore speak unto them and say to them, thus says Yahuwah, every man of the house of Israel that set up his idol in his heart and put the stumbling block of his iniquity before his face and comes to the prophet, I, Yahuwah, will answer him that comes according to the multitude of his idols, that I may take the house of Israel in their own heart, because they are all estranged from me through their idols. So you could be estranged through your idols, worshiping false gods. I'm not going to read this whole book. I'm just proving that it's written to the Israelites. Ezekiel 3:1. For this cause, I, Paul, the prisoner of Yahushua Mashiach, for you Gentiles, if you have heard of the dispensation of the grace of Yahuwah, which is given me to you, how that by revelation he made known unto me the mystery, as I wrote afore in few words, whereby when you read, you may understand my knowledge in the mystery of Mashiach, when in other ages was not made known unto the sons of men, as it is now revealed unto his holy apostles and prophets by the Spirit, that the Gentiles should be fellow heirs and of the same body and partakers of his promise in Mashiach by the gospel. You know the gospel is the law. I just read that. Ephesians 1:13. The gospel of your salvation, the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation. That's the law. Wherefore I was made a minister according to the gift of the grace of Yahuwah given unto me by the effectual working of his power. Unto me, who am less than the least of all saints, in this grace given, that I should preach among the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of Christ. Now, grace was given to the Israelites. Let's get that. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 33. Exodus. Deuteronomy 33, 13 through 19. And of Joseph he said, blessed of Yahuwah be his hand, and for the precious things of heaven. Oh, Salakia is Exodus 33. Exodus 33:13. Now therefore I pray you, if I have found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you, that I may find grace in your sight, and consider that this nation is your people. So the grace was given to the Israelites. That was Moses. Verse 14, and he said, my presence shall go forth with you, and I will give you rest. And he said unto him, if your presence go forth with me, carry us not up here, for wherein shall it be known here that I and your people have found grace in your sight? Is it not in that you go with us, so shall we be separated, I and your people, from all the people that are upon the face of the earth? And Yahuwah said unto Moses, I will do this thing also that you have spoken, for you have found grace in my sight, and I know you by name. And he said, I beseech you, show me your glory. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of Yahuwah before you, and I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. There you go. You know, I'm going to just end it right there because I don't really got to keep going. I already proved that the whole book of Ephesians is talking to the Israelites, because they keep talking about things that only pertain to the Israelites. It's not talking to heathen. It's nowhere is it referencing any heathen. Gentiles just mean descendants. And we already established that it was talking to Israelites. So it's talking about the descendants of Israel. Every time it say Gentiles, every time it say saints, you know it's talking about Israelites. With that, I'm going to close out. I know the truth, and I'm going to keep learning it for the rest of my life. Shalom.